You don't need to destroy them, just disappear and let their mind do it for you every night. Have you ever been betrayed so quietly that your whole world changed, but no one noticed? Have your words ever been twisted, your silence mistaken for weakness? Do you ever feel like the more you grow, the more they try to pull you back, and you're tired of explaining yourself? Then maybe it's time to stop defending and let karma speak in your place. There are moments in life where the strength of a man is not in his sword, nor in his voice, but in his silence. A silence that watches, a silence that waits, a silence that doesn't retreat, but recalibrates. In a world where noise is mistaken for power, the one who learns to stay silent when the world provokes him walks the path of true mastery. And there are 7 such moments when your silence is not weakness, but wisdom. When you don't respond, not because you are afraid, but because you are aligned with a force older than time itself. Karma. Karma is not superstition. Karma is nature's mathematics. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Think of that. Not to become bitter in response to bitterness, not to mirror their poison, but to rise above it with the silence of a man who sees the game clearly. When they lie about you and your name is being twisted by tongues that tremble in your presence, that's the first moment you must stay silent. Why? Because if you defend every lie, you validate the liar. You become chained to the accusations of people beneath your destiny. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster." When you respond to filth, you step into the mud, and karma can no longer do its job. Let their words hang in the air. Truth weighs heavier than time. Time will crush their lies. Truth needs no bodyguard. Young man, imagine this. You're in college or at your first job. Someone makes a slick remark, spreads a rumor. You want to reply, to clear your name instantly, but pause. That urge, that's your ego, not your soul. Learn to observe. Learn to smile without agreeing, nod without submitting. When you're building a future, you don't argue with ghosts. You let the wind carry them away. The second moment, when someone betrays you. Silence here is sacred. Lao Tzu taught, the best fighter is never angry, and betrayal tempts the fire. It burns, it stings. But reacting immediately only shows how deeply they got to you. Karma, however, is a different fire. It burns slowly, precisely with elegance. You think justice is served in confrontation, but real justice is patient. Silence here is not escape, it is endurance. You let the betrayer unravel themselves while you rise without interruption. A man once said, never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. That man was Napoleon Bonaparte. He wasn't speaking just of war, but of life. When someone betrays your loyalty, they have already declared war on their own soul. Do not save them from their own collapse. Do not stand in karma's way. Let them feel the absence of your voice. Let them face the echo of your silence. You, meanwhile, must grow. When someone disrespects you in public, this is the third moment. A jab, a sarcastic insult, an attempt to trigger you in front of others. And your silence? Your silence is a mirror that shows their insecurity to everyone else. Michel Foucault once observed, where there is power, there is resistance. The trick is to make your resistance invisible. That's power. To stand, to lock eyes, to smile slightly, and say nothing. That's not retreat, it's control. Think of the wolves. They don't bark, they stare. Young man in the workplace, in family gatherings, in heated debates. You will encounter this. Someone trying to pull you into the arena of drama. But a king does not wrestle clowns. A warrior does not swing at every mosquito. You must see the trap. When they cannot match your strength, they will try to disrupt your mind. Stay silent. Your silence becomes a shadow that haunts them, because nothing drives the weak more insane than a man who does not flinch. The fourth moment, when you are misunderstood. When your intentions are pure, but your actions are judged. When your path is mocked because they do not see the mountain you are climbing. That is not your moment to explain. That is your moment to walk higher. As Khalil Gibran said, the silence of the envious is too loud. Their misunderstanding is not your problem. It is their limitation. You must not hand over your dreams for them to dissect. In your youth, you will often be misunderstood by your own friends, even family. You will seem too serious, too distant, too focused. But remember, eagles are misunderstood by pigeons. Their silence is altitude. Let karma reveal your outcome. Let success become your reply. When they ask, why did he go silent? Let your achievement speak for you. There are three more moments, deeper still, where silence becomes not just wisdom, but a weapon. But for now, sit in the stillness. Breathe, listen. Karma moves when you don't. The fifth moment is when your heart is broken. And this is the silence that shapes warriors. When the one you gave your time to, your soul to, your trust to, walks away, mocks your pain, or chooses another path, the greatest mistake a man can make is to beg for closure. Because closure is an illusion sold by those who want control over your peace. True closure comes in silence. It comes in rising. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But most men will never get there because they lose themselves in pursuit of someone who was never meant to stay. In that moment, when your heart cracks open, you are offered a choice: fall to bitterness or rise to greatness. Stay silent. Let karma teach the lesson. Let absence speak louder than your pleading ever could. Let the universe whisper into their silence all the things you no longer say. And you, pour yourself into the gym, into books, into your craft, into your vision. Make your silence sacred by building a version of yourself so powerful that it feels like vengeance, without ever needing revenge. Socrates said, "Strong minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Weak minds discuss people." So when she leaves and they talk about you, when they laugh, speculate, celebrate your downfall, say nothing. Their laughter is momentary. Your resurrection is permanent. The sixth moment you must remain silent is when someone tries to drag you back into the old version of yourself. Young man, listen. You will evolve. You will outgrow places, people, patterns. And every time you do, someone from the past will rise like a ghost to remind you of who you were. "You've changed," or they'll say. "You used to be fun. You used to be humble. You used to need us." This is not a conversation, it's a test. Your silence is your answer, because growth does not argue with history. The philosopher Heraclitus said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man." So when they try to throw old labels on your new identity, wear silence like armor. You don't need to defend who you are becoming to those committed to misunderstanding you. This happens often when you come from a place where success is rare. Maybe you're from a small town, a broken home. Maybe no one in your circle believes in building businesses, breaking generational curses, or choosing solitude over social approval. And when you start changing, reading more, waking up early, saving money, cutting off toxic habits, they'll start talking. They'll call you distant, arrogant, self-absorbed. Do not explain yourself. That version of you they remember is dead, and the dead do not speak. The seventh and final moment is the most powerful of all. When your life is finally elevating and they try to pull you down, not with hate, but with disguised affection. This is the most dangerous trap because it doesn't feel like war. It feels like love. They'll say, "Don't forget where you came from." But what they really mean is, "Don't outgrow me." They'll offer flattery laced with fear, invitations dressed as nostalgia. They'll laugh and say you're taking life too seriously. But what they fear is that your light might expose their shadows. In these moments, your silence is not just power, it's prophecy. You are walking into a future that they can't come with you to, and you must accept that. Let karma sort their intentions. Let time unmask the jealousy behind the compliments. Your silence, it's the sound of your wings stretching. Nietzsche warned, "When you look into the abyss also looks into you." But when you rise above the abyss, when you climb, when you elevate, those still drowning below will reach up not to praise you, but to pull you back. Don't respond. Keep flying. To the young man listening, You were not built to chase approval. You were built to fulfill a destiny. Your silence is not absence. It is alignment with your path, with the universe, with greatness. Each of these 7 moments is a forge, a test of fire, and the man who survives them without saying a word becomes unstoppable. The world wants to see you angry. They want a reaction, not because you're weak, but because your silence threatens their illusions. So say nothing. Let karma echo your strength through time. There is a sound louder than thunder, and it is the silence of a man who has mastered himself. When you speak, they measure your words. But when you stay silent, they fear your thoughts. Because in silence there is mystery, and in mystery there is power. Young man, understand this. The more you grow, the more your silence will be misinterpreted. They will say you're cold, arrogant, emotionless. But what they are really feeling is their own insignificance in your stillness. They are no longer able to pull you into their storms. You have become the storm. Let's talk about something personal. Let's say you're walking down a path of ambition. You're building something, your body, your business, your mind. And you've stopped answering every message. You've stopped showing up to every gathering. You no longer react to every insult. And suddenly people begin to whisper, who does he think he is? He's not the same. He's acting better than us. And in a moment of weakness, you may feel the urge to explain yourself. Don't. Do not dilute your destiny to make the insecure comfortable. You are not here to be understood. You are here to become. As Epictetus, the great Stoic, once said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. What that means is simple. Your peace is your responsibility. The moment you speak out of impulse, you hand them your sword. When you stay silent, you hold the battlefield. Let karma move in silence. Let the heavens write your vindication in ways louder than any reply ever could. There is another layer to silence, one rarely spoken of. Silence is not just a shield. It is a mirror. When you stop talking, you begin listening. To others, yes, but more importantly, to yourself. You start hearing the voice that's been buried under noise for years, your own intuition, your instinct, your fire. That stillness, it's the voice of your future self calling to you. Rumi wrote, the quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. And that hearing will lead you to your higher path. You will hear what moves you, what distracts you, what no longer belongs. And that clarity will become your compass. Young man, when your phone is full of messages, but your soul is full of doubt, go silent. When you feel lost, not because you're weak, but because you're surrounded by people who have no map, go silent. When your path seems to offend others, when your boundaries trigger their entitlement, go silent. Your silence is not withdrawal, it is evolution. And sometimes, your silence is the only answer life requires. There's a moment in every man's journey where he must face the pull of 2 worlds, the world of reactions and the world of results. In the first, you waste your power trying to correct every opinion, prove every truth, fight every lie. In the second, you use that power to build strength, vision, legacy. The greatest kings were not those who roared the loudest, but those who knew when not to speak. Silence is strategy. Silence is signal. Silence is the language of men who move mountains. Now consider the philosophy of Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust and yet emerged with profound clarity. He said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Silence is that change. When nothing can be said that will elevate the moment, only silence remains. There is no justice louder than a man who rises without revenge. There is no response more powerful than a man who builds without needing applause. And there is no punishment more brutal than being ignored by the one they tried to break. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them scheme. You, stay silent, smile slightly, walk forward, and let karma answer in a language only time can translate. There is something sacred about a man who refuses to be moved by chaos, a man who does not flinch when provoked, who does not defend himself when accused, who does not justify himself when judged. his silence becomes armor. Not because he is hiding, but because he no longer needs to prove anything. He knows who he is, and that is enough. The ancient Stoics believed that the more a man needed to explain himself, the less he understood himself. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." And craving approval, craving control over what others think. This is the true poverty of our time. Silence is how the rich in spirit walk. Let's return to something practical for you, young man. You've likely faced situations where someone you once trusted turned on you, spread lies, made you look like the villain, twisted the truth so finely that even mutual friends turn cold. It hurts, it burns, and your entire body screams, "Say something!" But don't. That moment is the gateway to greatness, and greatness demands solitude. Let them talk. Because as time passes, truth doesn't need a voice. It needs endurance. When you do not respond, people start to wonder. They question the storyteller. They begin to notice the difference between noise and substance. Silence makes space for karma to speak. And karma always has better timing than you. Remember the words of Confucius. When anger rises, think of the consequences. Most men fail here. They lash out, thinking the louder voice wins. But in reality, the louder voice reveals the emptier soul. True strength is revealed in restraint. When you could destroy them with a word, but you choose stillness. When you could reveal every hidden truth, every sin they committed, but instead you disappear. That silence, that is thunder disguised as grace. Even in modern psychology, silence is recognized as a power move. Therapists call it tactical silence, the ability to hold space without reacting. It creates discomfort, reflection, accountability. You've probably noticed this in life. When you stay silent in a room full of gossip, they shift uncomfortably. When you don't respond to that text full of accusations, they send 5 more. When you don't defend yourself in the face of manipulation, the manipulator starts to unravel. Because silence removes the fuel. It denies them your energy. And energy, young man, is everything. This world wants you exhausted, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And the quickest way to burn out is to respond to everything. Everyone, all the time. But when you choose silence, you conserve your fire for what matters. That business you're building, that discipline you're shaping, that dream that keeps you awake. You don't owe everyone access to your voice. You don't owe everyone an explanation. As the Sufi poet Hafiz wrote, the words you speak become the house you live in. So what kind of house are you building? One made of constant apologies, explanations, defenses, or one built of stone, where silence guards your truth like a sentinel? Let the fools shout, let the bitter accuse, let the cowards scheme. You build in silence, train in silence, evolve in silence. And when the time is right, when the universe has finished weaving justice in its unseen loom, your silence will roar louder than anything they could ever say. There is a reason the lion does not respond to the barking of dogs. There is a reason the sun never explains its light. And there is a reason the most powerful men in history, those who shaped empires, who survived betrayals, who overcame ruin, often wrote more in their journals than they ever said with their mouths. Because the spoken word fades. But silence leaves an imprint. It lives on in the minds of those who wronged you, haunting them. And it lives on in your legacy, strengthening it. There is a silence that is not absence, but presence in its highest form. A silence that surrounds the most powerful men. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they've learned what not to waste breath on. This silence is earned, not gifted. It's carved from the wounds you did not speak about. It's shaped by the moments you chose dignity over drama. And in time, this silence becomes your crown. Think about the samurai. He did not draw his sword for every insult. Because the blade was sacred, so too is your voice. Young man, every time you stay silent in the face of pettiness, you sharpen your inner edge. You prepare for the battles that actually matter, the ones that are fought not in the mouths of men, but in the minds of kings. Let me speak to the part of you that still doubts this. You might be wondering, but won't I seem weak if I don't respond? That is the voice of the unrefined ego. The world trained you to believe that dominance is proven through noise. But domination through noise is short-lived. Real authority is silent, steady, unshakable. As Buddha taught, a man is not called wise because he talks and talks again. But if he is peaceful, loving, and fearless, then he is truly called wise. Notice that last word, fearless. It takes courage to remain calm. It takes strength to not react. It takes vision to rise in silence while they try to bury you in noise. Silence is not the absence of voice. It is the presence of awareness. And when karma moves, it needs space. So step back. When you are in a conflict and you feel that fire rising, pause, breathe. Let them finish their sentence. Let them think they've won. Because in that moment, something sacred happens. You step out of the reactive cycle, you take back control, and they feel it. They feel your power, not through a punch or a scream, but through the stillness of a man who sees 10 moves ahead, the mind of a chess master in the body of a warrior. This silence is legacy. You've seen this in your own life, haven't you? The friend who betrayed you, only for years later to fall apart under the weight of their choices, the relationship that ended with cruelty, and now they watch you from a distance as you become everything they said you never would. The coworker who once mocked you now asks you for advice. Karma is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers through their regret. In your silence, it amplifies every echo of it. Jean-Paul Sartre once wrote, "Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. You are not free until you stop needing revenge. You are not whole until you stop needing to be right. You are not powerful until you realize that silence is not defeat. It is divine indifference. You've risen above it. You've entered the sacred stillness of the builder, the dreamer, the unshaken. So when does a man speak? When the truth must be protected, when the innocent needs strength, when his purpose demands a voice. But even then his words are few, precise, measured, because he has learned every unnecessary word is a leak in the dam of his power. Silence is how he keeps the storm inside. So let them misunderstand you. Let them mock your stillness. Let them call it weakness. And then let your results speak like thunder. When your business thrives, when your physique transforms, when your name rises in places they cannot enter, let that be your reply. Let karma be your tongue. Let your silence be the sermon. You are not here to convince the blind. You are here to walk by faith and let the unseen forces of the universe arrange the rest. You are not here to prove them wrong. You are here to become so powerful that proving becomes irrelevant. And you are not here to scream into the void. You are here to walk with grace, to hold your silence like a blade, to master yourself so completely that your stillness becomes a message even your enemies must respect. So now breathe in this truth. Remember the 7 moments when they lie, when they betray, when they mock, when they disrespect, when they misunderstand, when they try to drag you back, and when they fear your rise disguised as love. In all these moments, speak not. Watch, listen, and rise. Because the man who stays silent becomes the man who cannot be stopped. And karma? She always finds her way. In silence, in shadows, in time. And by then, young king, you'll be too far ahead for them to even reach you. You don't need to react to be strong. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to chase justice. It's already chasing them. Remember, the strongest men move in silence and rise in storms. So hold your silence like a crown and let the universe finish what your words never could.